Building on the readings from week 5, I used my 3 additional articles to better understand how infants can use their social environment and affective cues to detect dominance in a given interaction. I dug deeper to look at whether temperament can be indicative of future dominance-related behaviors as well. The seemingly innate ability for infants to use cues was brought to my attention by a week 5 article, Foundations of Reasoning About Social Dominance by Pun and colleagues. The cues mentioned in the article are things like physical size of a given agent or the number of members within a collective group of agents. The article, How Preschoolers Use Cues of Dominance to Make Sense of Their Social Environment by Sharafuddin and colleagues, builds off the foundation from Pun's article. Sharafuddin and Tal wanted to see if 110 children aged 3, 4, and 5 years old could detect and interpret various signals of dominance, such as physical posture, decision-making power, age, and resource possession, to infer social hierarchies and predict outcomes like who would win in a competition. To test this question, 2 videos were shown where the infants must correctly identify which puppet is considered the boss. In one video, the agent with less marbles would yield to the agent with more marbles. The inverse of that video was also shown. A significant number of children were able to correctly identify the boss in each scenario. The preschoolers justified certain inequalities by appealing dominance-relevant personal characteristics, such as older age. Thompson and colleagues from another week 5 article looked at infants' expectations between 2 conflicting agents. In this unexpected outcome task, the infants paid less attention when the smaller agent yielded to the bigger agent compared to the alternative outcome. This shows that infants have an innate expectation regarding dominance-related outcomes. Keeping with this theme of predicting outcomes, Gunul and colleagues' article, How Young Children Use Manifest Emotions and Dominance Cues to Understand Social Rules, the Registered Report, looks at how young children use emotional and dominance cues to understand social rules in third-party interactions. They also used an unexpected outcome tasks on the 42 13 to 32-month-old toddlers, and then a verbal response task for 54 neurotypical 3 to 5-year-olds. The 2 age groups were looked at to figure out if children expect social rules to be followed under a dominant versus a more subordinate leader. However, results from Powell and Spelke's article from week 5 may suggest that everyone would follow social rules, as groups are expected to act alike. The age groups watched 2 videos labeled Dominant and Subordinate Leader. The infants seemed to be more surprised when the agent followed orders from the subordinate leader. However, the general finding was that children expected the agent to follow rules regardless of leadership, more often than not. Preschoolers provided more reliable results than the infants. The reasoning behind this could be what Gunul called deontic reasoning, as it enables better understanding for social rules in general. Now that I know children can pick up dominance cues at an early age, I wanted to see if dominance behavior is consistent over time. To do so, I looked at an article by Mullen, J. and colleagues called Assessing the Dominant Behavioral System in Early Childhood Using Observational Methods. This longitudinal study wanted to see the stability of dominance behavioral system, DBS, in early childhood and how it relates to the other temperament traits. The DBS is a biologically based system that gives rise to individual differences in motivation for dominance behavior, and responsiveness to power. In order to measure this sort of thing, the researchers looked at temperament over time and how it affects dominance behaviors in children. They tested 58 children at the age of 3 and 2 years later at ages 5 to 6. Over an approximate 2.5-year period, researchers would observe children's behavioral inhibition, BI, and effort for control, EC, followed by a test in dominance. The findings suggest that dominance has a moderate to high stability with a negative correlation to BI and EC. Boys tended to be more dominant than girls at both age points, however, becoming significantly more dominant at age 5 to 6. The findings support the notion that dominance is a distinguishable and stable trait in early childhood. With my hypothetical study, I want to try and put these findings together. I want to see if temperament can be a factor in how children will react to changes in dominance cues for a given leader. More specifically, I want to find out if 30 neurotypical children aged 4 to 6 are more likely to associate positive emotions with a leader displaying more cues of dominance. I want to know if different levels of behavioral inhibition and effort for control will cause children to focus more on changes occurring or simply look for dominant cues. For the purpose of the study, changes in dominance will be defined by the gain or loss of dominance cues within a leader. The importance of this study relies on how children view power, whether they look at shifts over time or just at certain cues. Given that Mullen and colleagues found dominance to be relatively stable, I think that this can be crucial in determining what future voters may want in a given leader. With that said, the hypothesis for my study is as follows. In general, children will be able to detect changes in dominance by associating more positive emotions to the more dominant leader at the end of video sessions. I would also expect children to display lower levels of BI and EC to be more sensitive to dominance cues than children of higher levels. In order to test my hypothesis, again, I would need 30 neurotypical children from 4 to 6 years of age. This sample will allow me to place 10 children into 3 conditions. Similar to an unexpected outcome task, they'll be asked to watch several video animations before testing. We will measure the children on effort for control and behavioral inhibition. These scores will be determined in the same way Mullen, Jay, and colleagues measured for temperament. This will include playing games involving turn taking, where the researchers take progressively longer each turn. Using observational measures, we can figure out which children fall above and below the within groups mean for BI and EC. 10 of these children will be placed in a control group. 5 of the children score below the mean for BI and BC, while the other 5 scored above the mean. The 20 other children will be divided into 2 groups of 10, representing children scoring above and below the mean respectively. Once groups have been formed, they will undergo practice and learning trials. They will become familiar with what we define as the followers and the leaders. Importantly, they will learn about the followers, green being happy, gray being uncertain, and red being angry. Following this, there will be 3 photos comparing 2 leaders at a time. The children will be asked to respond to 3 questions. Where will the happy leaders go? Where will the angry leaders go? And where will the uncertain leaders go? For this practice trial, the children will simply answer the question by pointing at what leader they think the followers should go to, or in between, indicating that they don't want to follow either one. The last set of practice trials shows a leader losing dominance. The children will then be asked why their followers went from happy to angry. After all these practice trials, to ensure that children understand the instructions, we can get into the testing. Starting with the control group, children will be asked to sit through 2 videos in which there are 2 leaders undergoing changes. For each video, the leaders will start and end in a neutral position. They will undergo 3 rounds of sticker placement. Each round separates the types of followers that will be placed on the printout. First placing the green, then the gray, and then the angry in the last round. We will look for any differences between the children above and below the within group mean. The procedure for the high and low BI groups will be identical, except the above mean group will watch a 15-second video, while the other group will watch a 30-second video. They will watch 4 different videos in which dominance is manipulated. Unlike the control condition, there will also be an added 4th round of sticker placement. In the 4th round, the children will have access to 10 of each sticker, only allowed to place a total of 10 stickers on the printed picture. The last trial video will have the left leader in a submissive stance, while the right leader is in a dominant stance. As the video plays, they will both progressively reach a neutral stance. So the expected results for the control group are as follows. Given that Ganol et al. Found that children expected followers to listen to a more dominant leader, I would expect no difference found in the control conditions. Happy followers will be placed on the dominant leader, uncertain followers will be placed in between them, and angry followers will be placed on the more submissive leader. Thompson et al. Found that children will expect groups to act alike. This could give some reasoning into placing all stickers into one area for each round, When given no options for the type of stickers in each round, the length of the video and ending with the leaders being identical seems to make no difference. The results for the two test conditions follow the same trend for the first 3 trials. The leaders showing more dominance at the end would have the more happy followers, while the more submissive leaders had the more angry followers. Even with the added 4th round, the children get being able to choose between all types of stickers, the trend still should continue. The significant difference should be found in the 4th round of the 4th video showing. This video had the leader on the left rise from being submissive to neutral. On the other hand, the leader on the right falls from a dominant stance to a neutral stance. For the children above the within group mean for BI and EC, we would expect them to use less angry stickers. They will mostly use uncertain stickers in the middle and happy stickers on the left leader. Mullen et al. Suggested a possible negative correlation between BI and EC and dominance. The children below the mean would be expected to use less uncertain stickers than the other condition. The general findings for this study were that the above mean group seemed to be more focused on the change at hand, while the lower group was more focused on dominance cues, causing for more polarized choices. With the proposed results, we can get a glimpse into what future voters may want in a given leader. There is a lot more than a leader than being dominant or submissive. Future studies could go into more detail with temperaments for both the leader and the children, finding a preference. Perhaps this study could be applied to high school students as they're getting closer to a voting age. These findings could serve great importance to uncertain voters. It may help them realize what they want in a leader, allowing them for more certainty when voting. I also believe that it could make voters a little more self-aware. Someone who is lower in behavioral inhibition may act before thinking through certain decisions, and this could cause them to vote more based on how they feel during the day. Taking a similar test to this study could also allow us to look more at a bigger picture while voting. Thank you so much for listening.